The mystery gang is on the case as 5 meddling kids solve the case of their internships. Starting with Ben Heaps, who's an electronic media major from Skysville, Maryland, whose mystery was in Baltimore, where he did film work on site and remote locations. Then we flip to Andrew Price, another electronic media major from across the state. His mystery took place close to home, cracking the code of video editing. Wyatt Clotterbach will follow. He's a sports comm major with a focus on announcing, whose mystery resided in, get this, Minot, North Dakota, where he wrote, was a cameraman and a designer. I think he wins the award for the furthest distance. Gina Reeves, who's an electronic media major from Carmichael's, PA, will be next. Her mystery involves the social media content behind Greene County. Then, to wrap things up, will be Samantha Swisher. She's a PR major from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Her mystery involved keeping things engaging and organized when reaching out to people through Circle of Women. 5 interns, 5 mysteries. Were they solved? I don't know. Let's find out.
All right. Well, before I really start, I want to ask a question. Just a quick show of hands. Who in this room would relatively consider themselves to be smart? Okay, good number of hands. I'm not one of you. I'm more of an average intelligence type person like Tow Mater in the movie Cars. So I made this, Internship for Dummies. Today I'm going to talk about where and who I worked with, some of the goals that I had, my duties and responsibilities, challenges I faced, what I learned, and at the end I'll have some time for a couple of questions. So first, I worked at Tantronics Productions, which is a video production company. If you look on the website, it'll tell you Tantronics is a production company creating cutting-edge commercial, film, and TV content that powerfully resonates with audiences. And Tantronics is based in Philadelphia. I put New York on there because we do a little work out there, but not so much anymore. It's mainly Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. Some important people that I worked with. On the left, you'll see my boss, Tanner McGrath. Not only is he my boss, he's an old friend of mine. I met him back in 8th grade when I started volunteering at my local church, doing service broadcasts there. On the right, Peter Magazu, another man I met at the same church later on than Tanner, but both of them work closely together. Pete does not work for Tantronics. He has his own media company that he runs, but they work, like I said, very closely together, and he's been a great mentor to me as well. Now, I had 4 total goals, 2 big ones, 2 small ones. My 2 major goals, learn something new. I'm always someone who wants to be learning and growing as a person and especially as a creator. And I wanted to learn how to edit video in a way that tells a story. I think that's always really important when you're working with video. My 2 smaller goals, I wanted to become more confident with video editing. I'll talk more about that. And I wanted to make industry connections. So on to my duties and responsibilities. My primary role at Tantronics was to edit Instagram Reels for our customers. I also was a set mule, a production assistant, and a behind-the-scenes photographer. I'll talk about all of this more, starting with editing Instagram Reels. Now, this was my first and primary responsibility at Tantronics. And basically, I would get video clips from Tanner after a shoot, and I would put those clips together to create 10 to 30 second video for the client. Now, what goes into video editing? Now, the most important part of video editing, in my opinion, is the workspace. So at Tantronics, we use DaVinci Resolve, which, as all of you know, is not what we use here. So there was a big learning curve that went into that, which I will talk about. Now, the first part of editing is rough cuts. So rough cuts, we basically cull through all the clips that are in the timeline, and we'll put them down into the timeline, cut them together real roughly, And then from there, those rough cuts will get refined into a more finished product. That's where we adjust the little clips, make them have smooth transitions, and look nice and pretty. Next up was audio and music. For audio, you don't want things to be peaking. You don't want them too loud, too quiet. So you'd go through and adjust that. We'd also add music for, as my boss would say, vibes. Because every company has a different aesthetic and every video is different. So you want music added to that kind of matches the aesthetic. Now the last part of editing an Instagram reel is the captions. DaVinci has a really useful AI caption tool. So you'd go through, you'd select your clips that you want to add captions to. You'd find your AI caption tool, click it, and in a few seconds you'd have captions. But as we all know, AI is not perfect. So you'd have to go through afterwards and look through all the captions, make sure they're all accurate, and if there is any inaccuracies, you'd change it. So my next responsibility, I was asked to come on set and just help around as a set mule. And basically what I would do is just move equipment. I would move things from the van to the set location and basically just do whatever I'm told. Now from there, my next time on set, I was asked to be a proper production assistant, and I would like to say it's the same but different because I was doing mostly the same jobs, but I had more responsibilities, more input, and I was kind of sort of in charge. And the example I like to use for that is lighting. I got pretty quickly thrown into working lights, setting them up, moving them around, saying, this is what I think looks good, and getting input from the director, the producer on set about what they think about my lighting choices. So, I mean, it's a big responsibility, but at the same time, I'm still doing what I'm told. And you can see on set here that, I mean, even though I was only doing a few things, doing what I'm told, I'm still watching the people who have bigger, better jobs than me, trying to learn and receive input from them about how things are going on. Now, my last main responsibility was a behind-the-scenes photographer. Now, Tanner knows that my primary thing is being a photographer. Even though this was a video internship, there would be times where I'd come onto set and he'd ask me to bring my camera and take behind-the-scenes photos. And this gave me some really unique opportunities to show things as they go on that you don't really see when you're watching like a movie or a music video. Things like lighting setups, how that looks in a on-location set. Clapboards, I mean, showing off, what you're working on. I think that's always a fun thing to do. It can be used as promotional content. And then production meetings are always fun because you get to see people talking about what's going to be happening later on. Some of the challenges I faced. Now, I had a day job, and Tanner was always really busy with stuff going on. There would be times where I wasn't on set, and he would be. So I'd be coming home from my day job, and he'd still be on set doing shoots. So it was kind of hard to line up our schedules and get in-person meetings to go over what I was doing. So, I mean, a lot of times we had to reschedule, and more often than not, we ended up just meeting on the phone. But the easy part with that is that in DaVinci Resolve, it all uploads to the Blackmagic cloud. Blackmagic is the company that created DaVinci. So it's all in the cloud, and everything that I do can be seen really quickly by Tanner. He can just pull it up and say, this looks good, this looks bad, change this, maybe adjust something here, and we'd be on with our day. And like I said, learning new software. DaVinci was a whole new world to me, and it took me 2 weeks really to learn it well enough to actually get my first assignment and start editing Instagram Reels. And I was just unfamiliar with video in general. I mean, I did a little bit of here for classes, but I mean, I'm a photographer by trade, so learning how to edit video, something that's moving and not a still photo, was very, very different. And then I know Dr. Krause would hate to hear me say this, but I'm not a very creative person. My brain just doesn't work to that. I'm used to doing what I'm told, and I'll do that thing well, but I'm not used to coming up with my own ideas and taking something that may or may not exist to something that does, and a finished product. So through this internship, obviously I learned how to edit video, and I think I got pretty good at it. Obviously I'm still learning. Like I said, I like to learn. So in DaVinci, there's a lot of new things I'm learning, like Fusion, which lets you do like tracking and animation, and just a bunch of other things, color grading and whatnot. Turning clips into stories. One of the things that I learned on my first assignment, one of the things I was told was we want to tell a story and we want to convey the story that the client wants to tell. So one of my favorite projects that I work on is called, we were working with a client called Castle Valley Mill, and they just restored a large water turbine at their mill that's going to rotate, it's going to generate electricity. That was a really fun thing, and we wanted to tell the story of that restoration through a series of videos. One of the other things I learned, how a film set operates. Like I said, I got on set pretty early, and it was just a good time. I mean, like I said, you saw in the picture, I was observing, I was asking questions, getting feedback on what I was doing when I got to the production assistant role. And one of the things that taught me also was collaboration. I mean, everyone's got different jobs, some are big, some are small, but all of them mesh together into the finished product. And without everyone working together, talking, collaborating, you wouldn't get as good of a product as we produced. And there was a lot more I learned, but I could go on and on about that all day, and I don't have the time for that. So I'm going to leave it with that. With that, thank you. If you have any questions, I'd like to hear them. Yes, Paul.
So when the project was all said and done, how long was your typical work day?
It really depended on the product. So the photos that I had were from a music video shoot we did, and I mean, we had some 10, 11, 12-hour days with that, and we were going all week. But then there would be other film set shoots that we'd only be there for like maybe 3 hours on a day, and then the next day for the same shoot we might be there another 12-hour day. So it's really dependent on the shoot, what your schedule looks like, and kind of everything going into the product and how big of a shoot it is. Yes, Andy.
Yeah, for the reels, how much guidance did you get from here's the footage, here's what I want?
Yeah, so in terms of here's what I want, it was really like I got a lot of creative freedom. I was kind of allowed to play with the clips that I would receive and come up with a story based on those. So I mean, like, I could take one clip to start it, and from that one clip there was a million other clips that I could have gone in any direction with them. So I mean, in the video series, you know, I recycled a couple clips, but I mean, at the end of the day, I was telling different stories through all of them, and then we had a voiceover with that as well from the mill owner, who would kind of be telling his story. And I mean, as far as guidance goes, obviously when I was new to it, I was still getting guidance on like how to do things, but really the creative freedom came down to me to match the brand image, the brand aesthetic, but I still had the freedom to come up with kind of what I wanted and what I saw as a good fit in that. That's all the time I have for questions, unfortunately. Coming up next, everyone's favorite mystery-solving cowardly dog, Scooby-Doo, the man who drove halfway across the country for God knows what reason to the middle of nowhere, Mr. Wyatt Clatterball.